Hey guys, I'm back today. It's Friday. I figured I'd do a video today to talk about how I fish for that late winter bass and rolling into early spring. And to me, what I consider late winter and early spring is when that water temperature starts to reach 46 to 48 degrees and goes higher. That's when I usually start headed out and start to catch a lot of the nicer fish that I catch of the whole year is really that late winter, early spring. And so I'll go over today with you some of the baits that I use and I like to use when that water temperature starts on the rise. And a lot of times the water's muddy when I fish, but I learned early to don't pay no attention to the water color, just fish. Of course it's going to change what colors that you do use, but I learned not to pay attention to that water color. They're still going to be up in there. That they rely a lot on vibration and not so much on sight when it comes to fishing muddy water. So some of the things I like to fish with is a jerkbait. A jerkbait in your early winter or your late winter and your early spring could be very deadly because your fish are sluggish, and this is an easy meal. Nothing easier than dying shad. Jerk along, leave it them long pauses, and it imitates a dying shad or a dying bait fish, and it's hard for them to pass up such an easy meal. So a lot of times I may jerk it 2 or 3 times, and I'll leave it there on a long pause. And this one's a suspending one. I think this is a Rapala husky jerk, and this is one of my favorites. I'll fish this color a lot all year long. It's one of my favorites, but this is a very deadly bait for late winter bass into the early spring, and it's good throughout the year. But fish slow during those months, or it can be really good bait. So that's just one of them that I like to use. Another one I'll use is a lipless crankbait, or a rattle trap, if you will. And I don't know if I got a red eye shad. I usually like the Straight King red eye shads is usually what I like to fish. And a lot of times as that water starts to warm up, those bass will get a little bit more feisty, and that loud rattle and that vibration that they put off can really trigger some bites. So this is kind of similar to the Straight King red eye shad, and I'll use it a lot. Especially as the sun comes out and everything starts to warm up. It could be a really good warm, what's the word I'm looking for? It could be middle of February and you get a big warm spell, and that could trigger those fish to come up and start feeding. And a good rattle and the vibration these things put off can really fire up some fish and get them to bite. So that's another one that I really like to use. I'm not sure of the brand of this one, but I usually have a Straight King red eye shad is usually what I have on. So that's another good bait that I like to use. Then as the water starts to get 52, 53 degrees, I'll even throw this here is a Rapala glass wrap. It's a very small crankbait, but it's a very good crankbait. As you get a little bit of grass that starts to pop up as that water hits 54, 55, if you're fishing a lake that has heavy grass all year long, it'll start to show. And if you can find those little grass patches in that lake, this crankbait runs to about 6 to 8 feet deep. And if you can find those grass patches and bring this thing through it, I've caught a ton of fish when that water starts getting 52, 53, 54 degrees on this here by finding those grass pockets or finding those little grass patches as they're starting to grow. If you could rip this through that, along with the rattle trap works good too. But this little bait here, I've caught several nice fish on this early season in March. So that's another one. This is a Rapala glass wrap. They have several different colors. This is with the goldish color one. I can't remember the exact color, but this is one of my favorites right here. Can be a little bit of a pain to throw sometimes because it's so light, but it's got a small rattle in it. But the action can be a little erratic, and that's what I like about it. And plus, it's a small bait that goes to 8 feet deep. And So that's another one of my baits that I have going on too. And then, as I start to fish a little slower, as you guys probably know now, I'm a huge jig fisherman. That's where I feel the most comfortable, is when I'm pitching a jig or I'm pitching plastics. So another one that I love to do, that water temperature gets 48 and up, I love to drag a jig around. As them fish start to move up on those first flats, when you get a nice warm day or warm spell, I love getting way off the bank offshore and throwing up on them big flats and just dragging that thing across the bottom. I love doing it. And so usually, depending on the water color, if the water's muddy, white's not bad, but I actually myself, a lot of people prefer white. I like black and blue. I think the black stands out a little bit better, or silhouettes better in the muddy water than a lot of the other colors. So usually I fish a black and blue, and a lot of times it's not always the smaller baits that gets bites. I usually throw a football head or an arky head or a flipping jig, and I'll leave it. I'll throw a 3/8 ounce or a half ounce, and I'll put a 4-inch rage tail crawl on the back of that thing. And I may cut a 1/4 inch off, maybe a 1/2 inch, and a lot of times I'll leave the skirt full, because sometimes those fish are sluggish, and as you're dragging it along the bottom, you got to think what you're imitating. You're imitating a crawfish, of course, coming across that bottom. But remember, when that water temperature is 48, 50, 52 degrees, those crawfish are pretty sluggish too. So you don't want to be dragging it 2 or 3 feet at a time. Think of it as how those things would react in that temperature. They're going to be sluggish and moving slow too. So I try to mimic as much as I can, and a lot of times a bigger, bulkier bait can get you bit bigger, because these fish are getting a bigger meal without spending a whole lot of energy. So a lot of times I'll throw and drag a bulky jig around when that temperature's down. It's, when I first start, usually when I go out and start, I'm either going to start with a jerk bait, or I'm going to start with a jig or a rattle trap. Those are my top 3, and then I'll go from there. But it's usually a jig first. Another one, if you can find fish that have moved back out as the water temperature drops off, and this is good actually early winter too, but as the water temperature cools off and they drop out into the points and they start suspending in that warmer water, that deeper water, this is a blade bait. Let me get one out here. Actually, I got one right here. And they are awesome. They get a little tangled up, but this is a silver buddy is what these are. I think they're actually called. And they rig kind of like a rattle trap. They rig in the center of the back. They put out a lot of vibration. Maybe I'll get that one out. Maybe I won't. If you can find those fish suspended off on them points or suspended in that deeper water as they move out, these baits here are pretty daggone awesome. All they replicate is a dying shad, and they work amazing. And these are good in the winter months, in the early spring, all winter long. And you can see it's a silver buddy. This is a gold color. I have both gold and silver that they rig in the back. But as these things drop, they just flicker and flutter down, almost similar to like a flutter spoon. And then you can just rip them real quick and let them fall back down. A lot of times, if you can get on that school of fish, or you can find them fish where they're suspended back into the deeper water, and you can throw this in there, a lot of times you'll get bit, or you can trigger a bite, because like I said, it's an easy meal for those fish. They're not looking to spend a whole lot of energy. So this can be a really good bait. It's just a matter of finding where those fish are suspended. Another one, let's see here, what else do I got here? Sometimes I'll throw a little Ned Rig with a little 4-inch Senko on the back of it. This is just a little Ned Rig that I use. Sometimes they want the smaller bait, sometimes they want a little bit bigger. So I have another one here rigged up in the black. It's a little bit larger. It's just a matter of going out and experimenting, trying to figure out what they want. But a lot of times, to me, it works a lot is the bigger, bulkier jigs, because you don't get bit a lot, but the fish that you do catch are usually a lot bigger quality fish. And depending on any of these baits work great in the wintertime. Any of these baits, it just depends on what kind of numbers you're wanting to catch. Of course, wintertime, you could blank or you could go out and catch 20. So it's just a matter of trying these baits. But these baits here are my favorite baits that I've got on a rod when it's wintertime. Sometimes the jig trailers, I won't use the jig head with them. Sometimes I will rig, let me see what I got here. I will rig, these are bio spawns, and I'll just rig these weedless and fish them Texas rig. I take that back. I fish them Texas rig and the Carolina. It just depends if I'm dragging a big flat or if I'm walking down a ledge or a point. These here are pretty amazing baits. Between this and the Rage Tail Crawl, these are what you're going to see me pitching probably 75% of the time. These are some very good baits. So I use these on the back of a jig as well as the Rage Tail Crawls. They have some amazing action to them. You can cut them down or you can keep them the same length. It doesn't matter. It just depends on what kind of presentation you're wanting to show. But a lot of times I will just pitch this alone, rigged up weedless or Texas rig. Or if I'm dragging flats, I'll Carolina rig it. But these can be really good. So that's another thing that I like to use. But most generally, you're going to see me throwing. You're going to see me dragging a jig on the bottom. Very slow. I'll fish it very, very slow, very methodical. Because remember, what you're replicating, you're not going to see a crawfish zipping through the water column when it's 52 degrees. I mean, and they know that. So you want to imitate what they're going to be feeding on in that time. You want to work your bait just like it. Everything's going to be sluggish, so everything could be a little slower. Now, like I say, if you get a warm spell, sometimes that triggers those fish, and it'll get them fired up. And then a little faster action will trigger those fish to bite. So it just depends. Just try different things and go out there and don't let the water color scare you. Don't let the water temperature scare you. The fish are going to be biting. It's just they're going to move different things. Because remember, in the winter, the shallow water gets colder quicker, but it warms up quicker. As you get out in your deeper water, it's going to get cold so far down, and then actually the warmer water is going to be deeper, and the cooler water is up top. So they're going to go to where the water is the warmest, and they're just going to be sluggish. So go out there and go to your lake, and if you already know the lake that you fish is close to home, you know where these points are and these drop offs or where these deep flats are, go out there and give it a try. I mean, don't let the weather discourage you. Don't let the water temperature or the water temperature, the weather, or the water color. Don't let that discourage you. Just go out and fish. The more you become a well-rounded fisherman, I mean, the better off. I mean, every time you go out should be a learning experience, or it is for me anyway. I'm always looking for a way to put any kind of information that I can learn into my head when it comes to fishing. So I'm always paying attention to any detail whatsoever. And you can always look back on these things like, okay, last winter I was doing this when the weather was this, or when the water temperature was this, and the water was this color. You can always refer back and keep a notebook if you need to, or keep a log. That's probably one of the best things that you could do as a fisherman if you take it seriously. I mean, like I said, I've been fishing now with my own boat for 15 years, and I was fishing before that with my dad, and each time I go out, it's a whole learning experience, and whether it be learning a new lake or just trying different things. But those are the baits that you'll see me fishing with a lot, and like I said, they're made by Biospawn, the Strike King Rage Tail Crawls, the Rapala Glass Wrap, and the Husky Jerk, and then these Silver Buddies here. And these could be really, really fun. I'm telling you, if you get on a school of fish that's stacked up, you can have an absolute blast on these things. And like I said, those are the baits that I use. And size and speed all dictates. Let the fish tell you what's up. So hey, you know, I hope everybody has a great season coming up. It's still a little cool for where I'm at to get started, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm hopefully here in another month, 3 to 4 weeks, that I'll be able to get out and really start catching some nice fish. I'm waiting. I ordered a new trolling motor from my dealer, and I'm waiting for it to come in, and hopefully it'll be a big help for me. I ordered a new Ultrex by Minn Kota, and with the spot lock, so I'm hoping that'll help me a lot. As for I don't have any power poles on my boat, and I think the spot lock is going to work pretty well, considering, you know, you don't have to. You're not limited in depth where you can use it. So as soon as it comes in, I know it's on back order. As soon as it comes in, we'll get it put on, and then hopefully it's fishing season and I'm ready to go. Until then, I'll try to do videos every Friday. It may be antler hunting. It may be anything about fishing, or just talking, doing a report. You know, if you guys got ideas or you guys got questions, you know, drop it in the comments, and I'll try to get back with you, or I'll try to do a video on it. I can talk hunting if you guys want to talk hunting, or you got any questions about hunting. These deer here, these are from, you know, me and my dad and my wife. You know, we hunt as a family, and my brother as well. You know, it's a family affair for us, and we really enjoy it. So, you know, maybe what my next video is about is deer hunting and some tips and tricks on it, or some pointers. But some of the streams I'll be uploading, they were I film them, and I filmed to upload them to Twitch TV. I have a Twitch TV channel. Sometimes if I got service, I'll stream live to Twitch TV, and if not, I'll usually film them, then I'll just add them all together and upload them into a vodcast, and then I'll export them over here to YouTube. So, you know, if you want to watch the whole things, that's fine. I'll put them up, and I'll label them as the full stream, as uncut, and you guys can watch the full stream. And then I'll probably do a highlight video at the end of the year of fishing and hunting and antler hunting and everything together. But yeah, if you guys got any questions or got any videos that you guys want me to address, or questions that you have to ask, just give me a like and drop it in the comments, and hopefully I can help you guys out. Until then, you know, you guys have a great weekend, and God bless you guys.